Welcome, dirty peasants, to Wartwood Gazette, the Amphibia podcast. This is episode 41, and we are covering Amphibia Season 2, Episode 1, Handy Ann and Fort in the Road. I'm your host, Thembaticon, and joining me today we have Impact,
Hey, what's good, everybody?
Sunsfury,
Hello.
and Nick.
What's up, y'all?
Thank you, Pixels and Lemur, for joining us in the audience. You'll be hearing from them when they give their initial thoughts on each of the segments. So there were no news this week, but yeah, I, I think there's no news. We can go. Well, before we talk about the episodes, I kind of wanted to talk about what happened before we got season 2. So, for those of you who started watching Amphibia maybe a bit later on, maybe around like maybe 2020, Amphibia was on hiatus for about a year. It was from I think July to June, July 2019 to around June 2020. So we had this year-long gap, and we didn't get much, but what we got was pretty substantial. Like in August. On August 24th, 2019, there was like the D23 Expo, where Disney has all these like different events to reveal stuff. And for Disney television, they had Big City Greens and Amphibia do like a joint panel hosted by Kermit the Frog. And the big thing we got there was not only did we get the announcer of like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, which is actually finally coming out this year. We also got the season 2 concept art for Amphibia, and it was really, for a long time, this is what we kind of had to hold on to as like, this was our season 2 news for like a couple of months. And I guess Nick, you remember seeing this like first concept art. It was like it really set
Yeah, I was like,
it really set like our expectations to like what was gonna happen.
yeah. I mean, it was really something because, like, I feel like I don't completely remember my mindset of Amphibia back then, but I do know, like, I was still on like 2 ideas for the show. Like, I was like thinking, this is gonna be your average cartoon, nothing special. To okay, this might actually be something, and like, yeah, pieces like these. I mean, they really raised my like opinion on the show because it just gave the show such a grand feel and told you it was really opening up. I mean, just seeing them just barely getting past the valley and then seeing like what's out there. Yeah, that was really nice. That was really nice. But the only thing that sucked was that back then this was like a small piece, torn off a slice of bread, given to the fan. Like this was all we had during the hiatus, and like, yeah, I don't even know what else to say. Like this was one of the only things we had, like keeping us hyped up for season 2 and just getting us ready for it, and just getting us excited. And yeah, I wasn't like exactly too deep into the fan. Like I didn't really have any spaces where I interacted with you, but like I did look around every now and then to see what was going on. And yeah, this was something I was really happy that I spotted. I mean, if there's anything that really made me want season 2 to get here faster, was this.
And also, this happened in like August, so it was only like a few weeks after season 1 ended. So it didn't really help the I guess the drought, because it happened at like right in the beginning. But like stuff like the wagon, and then for like a long time, like this is what we thought, like Newtopia in the concept art. This is what we kind of expected it to look like, and this is what we saw in season 1 of Fiddle Me This. But then, like as we saw, like eventually the concept art for Newtopia changed around a bit. But it was just really, you really got the sense of like you see the planners like in the forefront, and then just Newtopia is like the goal on the horizon. And then you see like the very like the long path of like all the stuff in the way you knew it's gonna. It kind of set like an expectation in my mind that we wouldn't get to like Newtopia right away. We'd spend like quite a bit of time just like traveling there, and that's what I was most excited about. And like hopefully that like hopefully impact since you came later on onto the fandom, like that kind of shows like what was going through our brain at the time.
Yeah, it's oh man, like because for me anyway, like that point, like when I really started to get into like the fandom at large, was really after season two. Because I think of like the show as like one and two. I don't think of like a time in between that point, like at all. It's after reunion, it's straight into Handy Ann. There's no hype, like for me. It's just right to that point. And the fact that you guys had to wait like a whole like year, and like season three took like what was like 4 months, like
Yeah, four
5 months
months.
for like yeah, that's mad short compared to like entire year to like 2A. So yeah, that's really like no. That's super weird to think about, to kind of try to put myself in that perspective too. You know what I mean? Like because like I said, I think of the whole show as just one big blob. I don't really think of it. Like yeah, I think season two has a different vibe to it. I'll get to it once we talk about Handy Ann, but yeah, that's really neat. So yeah.
And Sunsfury, I think you didn't really remember this the screenshot, even though you were on the subreddit. Like I remember you back in season one, but
Yeah, I wasn't so much a heavy participator, especially back then. Or at least like in that general lull. I was like, oh, season two stuff. Okay, we're getting this soon. That's kind of when I re-engaged back with Amphibia. Uh, but no, I do remember the main poster though. That was good. But I was just mostly going, oh hey, here's the time that we get to explore the rest of the world, and I was keen. I was keen.
yeah, and the season two poster. We'll talk about that once we cover the episodes, because yeah, that's just like
Yeah.
beautiful.
Work of art, like that is perfection.
Definitely, yeah. So I think we can go into Handy Ann. So Handy Ann was written by Adam Colas, storyboards by Drew Applegate and Matt Moore, and directed by Kyler Spears. So basically, this episode takes place 3 months after after 3 months since the start of the show itself. Um, we get quickly that segment starts off very quickly with Hop Hop arriving with the wagon, and they're making plans to go outside the valley, and it's kind of it's kind of about Anne's guilt that the planners are helping her and risking everything, such as the farm, to like go on this journey. She tried to fortify the house herself instead of letting Chuck look after it, and eventually we get the magic the magic evil vegetables and that whole fight. And even though the house gets temporarily destroyed, like Anne still felt guilty, and we get that quick uh, view of her eyes again. It wouldn't be a premiere without seeing Anne's eyes glow. But yeah, and the segment ends with the planners and Anne like reuniting, and Anne admitting her mistake, and they end off the season with a quick reminder about the box being buried, and they just head out into the mountains. And that was Handy Ann. And I know Nick is gonna bring this up later on, but yeah, this was probably like the best opening we've had out of the three. Uh, I loved how, like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of about Anne's guilt with the planners helping her. Eye glow. I'm gonna save that conversation. I'm gonna save that talk for later with the eyes. But yeah, it's just generally a really good, like really fun episode about the planners, especially like Sprig and Polly with their subplot with the slingshot. And yeah, it's just all overall like a really solid episode. I guess starting with the audience, Pixels, what were your thoughts on Handy Ann?
Hi everyone. Hanian's a really good way to start out the new season. I love the humor along with it, and we got to see our boy Chuck. He grows tulips, as we all know. Chuck got mowed down. I feel bad for him, and I love. Season 2 is all about like, especially with Anne and Hop Pop. It's all about the guilt that they feel for like what's happened to them in season 1, which I like that. And like I like the continuity they have that the writing has. And I love how Anakin basically made the house into like Bowser's castle in Mario Kart. I just thought that, oh, that's so cool. But like at the one thing I want to point out, the the design of the veggie monster, the eggplant that's basically alien, is like so clever. I love it. But the fight scene is just that was really great, and the blue eyes is just like, oh shit, it's about to go down. It's really really strong start to season 2.
All right, thank you, Pixels. Lemur, what were your thoughts on this? Your general thoughts on this premiere?
Oh wait, okay. I wasn't expecting to call here, but general thoughts for Handy and ve- honestly, I think this might be this is definitely my second favorite opener for a season, only falling behind the new normal. But I will talk. I guess I'll talk about that at a later time. But even then, like this is a very strong opening segment for the show. Tackles a lot of the remaining threads that have been running from season 1. Sets up the main plot to season 2 with the whole um, road trip. Well, the first arc of the season, which is the road trip arc, which journey towards Utopia, and and the thing with Anne's calamity powers. Um, there really isn't much to talk about in terms of like more stuff, but as a character driven story, this is a very good one. As the main focus of this entire episode is Anne trying to give back to the planters for everything they've done for her so far by guarding the house, journey, and all that stuff. And it's it not only serves as a good good next step for not only Anne's character, but also shows how much she has come to care about the planter. Overall, I got not really much to say. Just a good episode.
All right, thank you, Lemur. Impact, what were your thoughts on this opener?
So Handy Ann for me is really cool because for me, as soon as like this episode sets up like major episodes this season, right? We mentioned Marcy, we mentioned like it sets up Marcy at the gate, it sets up After the Rain. It sort of sets up Toadcatcher a little bit. I mean, it kind of just deals what happened with Reunion a little bit. But as soon as we started like mentioning a lot of past events in significant detail or setting up plot points, that told me like, and the fact that we're going outside of the valley, like, okay, season 2 is different. Like they're gonna structure this a little differently, and that made me really excited to like continue the show. In general, it's a really strong start, and I think Handy Ann is just honestly, I think this episode's better than New Normal. I don't want to go too much into season 3, but I will say that I think like this episode does a great job of kind of demonstrating like Anne's change as a character. She's a lot more like selfless and empathetic, feeling guilt for the plant who's helping her and such. So this is like a really good like understanding of, okay, where's Anne at this point in the story? Okay, boom, she's a lot less selfish now. She's a little bit stand up for herself a little bit more. She takes more initiative to help out people. She's listening to her heart a lot more. Okay, cool. And I think like this does a great job of setting up the rest of the stories in this season. Anne's character right now, it reestablishes the characters of all the planters and stuff. You get to see all their dynamics. Even with the small thing with Sprig and stuff with his slingshot, that's really fun. And Polly messing around with him, that was great. So Handy Anne's a really fun episode. It's really neat looking back at this one in New Normal. And kind of because they pulled the same tricks in New Normal too, with just having like single line set up plot beats. It's very fun. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Impact. Sunsfury, what were your thoughts on Handy Anne?
So, as with most people, I like Handy Anne as just the setup to season 2. A lot of that is because it gets us back into the vibe of Amphibia, and each of the characters, we get solid moments out of everybody behaving in what will basically be their core nature for the rest of season 2. We go, okay, here's a reminder, here's Sprig being Sprig, here's Polly making jokes about other people being bad at fighting and trying to beat stuff up herself. Here's Hot Pop being worried about everybody. Here's Anne trying way too hard to be protective / whatever and getting everybody into trouble because of it. That's what I like. It also kind of comes with a bit of a reminder that, hey, just because we're leaving the valley doesn't mean things will be different. Like, the world will be just the same. And we get that bit of a teaser towards what's to come. But that Aglo talk is for a different time.
All right, thank you, Sunsfury. Nick, what were your I know Nick is very passionate about Handy Anne. That's why I saved him for last.
But yeah, I mean, every positive thing that's been said about Handy Anne, I just completely agree with it. Like, yeah, I mean, every time I go back to this episode, I just love it. Like, just straight from the get-go. Like, this is, like, the crew, Amphibia has, like, a lot of episodes where you can tell, like, the crew really outdid themselves, and Handy Anne is just one of them, you know what I mean? Like, just has that feeling. Like, even if it's just 11-minute episode, even so it's not even a 22-minute one, like, it has that feeling of being really well crafted. And, like, to me, back in 2020, after a year of hiatus, like, this was the perfect type of episode to have, you know what I mean? Just to end the hiatus. Because, like, I mean, just let me see. I mean, just imagine this, though, because, like, we spent over a year of just those first 20 episodes. The only thing we could do with them was just think over the many plots that were still unresolved and just speculate on what could come in season 2. So when Handy Anne just opened with so many callbacks, ranging from small gags to serious plot lines and reunions aftermath, the box, Marcia Ann's glowing blue eyes, like, that's gonna be hype as hell. It's like, for me, I've always thought it's like the crew just looked at the Phantom's woes and just gave us Handy Anne. It's like hands down the perfect episode and a hiatus for me, and just my favorite season premiere of any animated TV series. Like, it feels like the exact type of episode you want to give to a fan base that waited over a year for a hiatus to end. Like, everything just feels on point for this.
All right, thank you, Nick. And yeah, like, I totally agree with the way I feel like Handy Anne is like the first half of, like, satisfying us. Like, I'll get more into it once we talk about Fort in the Road, but yeah, I completely agree. And to start the segment off, we get a brief look of, like, Anne's, like, psyche when Spring brings up reunion.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I think Sunsfury already brought it up. It's like, or was it Impact? I think you just mentioning up, like, just reunion wasn't, like, forgotten, and Anne is clearly, like, downplaying the like, how she was
clearly trying
feeling.
to bury Anne.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it just ties back to this being the perfect way to start a season. I mean, like, they know they just capped off their first season of something as huge as reunion, right? So, like, obviously they know the fandom's still thinking about it and still talking about it. So just Well, so why not kick off the episode with that? Why not? Why not give Anne like PTSD flashbacks? I mean, it's great, and like, it's a good way to show that it's still affecting her. It gives us a really funny moment from Sprig, showing just how obnoxious he can be, but at the same time, I mean, it does give us an in-depth look at Anne's psyche, like letting us see what she will normally do with things that just plainly make her uncomfortable, right? And she just bears it down and avoids a conversation about it.
Right, and even before that, we got the that poor guy who got like carried by the dragonfly, and like I'm guessing in this world, dragonflies last like longer than a week, longer than a week, since it's been holding this guy up for 3 months.
Yeah, how's he been surviving? Like, he's just been flowing up there. Yeah.
I mean, if it was a mosquito, like I think maybe he's just like slowly draining the guy's blood to stay alive.
It's like, yeah, still up here. That's great. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like the callbacks, though. Like this episode, like this is the strongest start to any season of the show. And then we just then we know it's we're I think who said it was spring. I think Sprig said it was spring, and then what did Anne say? She said like
So new season, it's time to blossom my best
there
self.
we go. Like literally,
new season, new possibilities.
Literally, the through line right there. The through line for Anne was established right there for season 2, because that is literally her climax in season 2. Like that is what season 2 was leading up to by its end. Boom. That is what I'm talking about with this episode, man.
Wait, season 2 or season 1?
This is season 2.
Oh, okay.
Because this is season 2 is where she really becomes aware of everything, right? Like aware of like how much she has changed, and she's like, "Oh, I really love this new persona, and I'm gonna own it." And like right then and there, we have Handy Ann establishing that thematic through line right there.
And then once we get through that, Hop Hop and Polly arrive in the wagon. I just love how this is when we get like the wagon joke, and I'm glad they kept it in. It's a nice little personalized name for their vehicle. And Polly makes that joke about the because this wagon, like once we look at the inside, it's really nice. So it kind of makes sense how Polly
really
said like
yeah.
the person died in it.
It makes you wonder how. Like, I mean, it looks for the flagon. Man, the flagon's so nice. Like, it's nicely animated too, right? Like, I think they use like CG for it.
Yeah, it's CG. Like some
but you never know. But you never really. I mean, there are a few times here and there you can notice, but like most of the time, like it just blends in really nice with the show.
Oh, Impact! You were gonna say something?
Oh no, I was just agreeing. Like, yeah, like for me, it took me a little bit to kind of figure out it was CG, but like it works so well with the style of the show. You don't really like notice it because it has a few shots where it's drawn into and when it's like moving mainly, like when it has to move dynamically, it's usually like 3D. So yeah, like you rarely notice it, and it's used so little too that like the flagon is weird because you only see it like mainly in 2A, and then like you only get snippets of it in 2B because once we get Joe Sparrow and stuff. But I'll get into that once we get to them and stuff. But yeah, like you rarely notice that it's like 3D, and it doesn't really like affect the show that much just in general. So like yeah, great.
Right, and if you want, you can talk about the Joe Sparrow flagon comparison because like we already covered First Temple onwards.
Oh, okay, all right. Because like, so like one of the cool things, like once we're traveling to the valley, like everything feels kind of slow with the wagon and stuff naturally because we're on Bessie and stuff, right? And like the world of Amphibia kind of feels like really big, right? We explore like all kinds of different elements and stuff, and like once we get to like Joe Sparrow, like the flagon's just gone. Who cares? We have fast travel now. Like we can just teleport. Essentially, it feels that way. We're just teleporting to place. But it was really cool, like in 2A, when it felt like Amphibia was like this super big, large area. We could explore so much stuff, and it took time to kind of get to a place. I just really like that the flagon kind of represents that. slow, calm period where we're kind of just exploring Amphibia. We're having fun with the planters and Anne and stuff, letting them do their thing. But like once like we get to like the bigger like adventure stuff, then we just get Joe Sparrow and we're just warping around all over the place, essentially. So yeah,
Right. And speaking of
I
the
think that's
journey,
very interesting there.
yeah, thank you, Impact. Yeah, like, and speaking of the journey, like, we get the scene inside where Hop Hop shows off the map of Newtopia, and he explains, like, since they're the smartest people in this world, that they probably might have an answer. That's pretty much what they're all. That's what Hop Hop's like relying on, is that the fact that maybe Newtopia has the answer, and we get like the Newts are established as like kind of like the wise people who run the place with their robes, and there's this kind of weird
Yeah.
obsession with like with
Yeah.
robes. Once we get to like Newtopia itself, like we kind of see it there too, but here in that like poster Hop Hop holds up, like Spriggan and Polly are just like mesmerized by it.
Yeah, the newts are interesting because like I think we saw some newts in season 1. I forget exactly. I think it might have been Fiddle Me This that we saw a few. But like
Yeah, we have
the
like,
newts are
yeah, I
kind
was
of
lucky too.
yeah,
Oh,
like
sorry, no, go ahead, yeah.
yeah, the newts are like mysterious. Like you don't really know like a lot about them. They're always praised to be like the smartest people of Amphibia. Oh my gosh, like Utopia is this awesome, like crazy place. Like, and then yeah, we don't see the newts that much. They're like kind of a higher order. So it's really cool that like they kind of hype them up a little bit. And once we get to Newtopia, you know, we're meeting all kinds of new characters and stuff. And they kind of live up to it, right? With like Andreas and stuff, and Olivia and Yunan, right? So I love how well the Newts are kind of set up to not be like this deity, but this higher order of society that like we've never seen yet. We've been living in like a backwater farm for like forever. So it's really cool that we get like I don't know. I just love how the Newts are set up. They feel so like you don't really know what they're about, but you kind of do a little bit. So I think that's really neat. So yeah.
Yeah, and then we get the like Anne quickly mentions like trying to find Marcy, and yeah, not much to say there, but yeah, like eventually that's the correct assumption from Anne.
Yeah, just set up that plot point.
There's a lot to be said about how, like, early season 2 just sets up this. Oh, this is all the kinds of stuff that we might be able to encounter, and then just leaves us hanging on that for a while. And then eventually we get to it after we've had like 6 episodes of sitting around going, "Oh, I wonder what's going to happen here," which I feel is really nice.
Right, kind of.
Because it kind of builds like hype to it.
Yeah,
like
it
you're
does.
kind of like I think it does a good job of like because you're not in this mode where like oh my gosh just get there already. No, I feel like when you're traveling like to Newtopia, you're still having fun with the planters and Anne and stuff and their own little adventures. But like we're always getting closer and closer and closer. We're always making progress, and it's just like man, it got me so excited when we were in those 5 episodes of just chill times. I was never like, oh my god, when are they gonna get there? Like a single time. I was always more and more and more excited. I think they progressed that really well with just hyping up Newtopia in this episode. So yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
a lot of that lack of frustration is there, like, works, and it all works, and we don't feel frustrated because each episode we see, okay, we're traveling towards Utopia. We continue to drive in the wagon. This is a continuous thread throughout that, and it all begins here, right in Handy Anne, and by extension, a fork in the road. Like the show keeps moving, and you know that there's going to be an end. There's an end in sight as well.
Right, especially.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Alright. I mean, I was just gonna say, like, I completely agree with you guys because I feel like, I mean, what also helped me, it was just the fact that planters, they were trapped together right in that small, like, little wagon. So, like, pretty much every episode had them all bouncing off of each other. You know what I mean? Like lots of gags, emotional moments here and there. It was a really enjoyable time because of the planters. They all have such a great dynamic. Like the crew has really worked out the characters. They understand how they work. So like, yeah, it's just really great.
Yeah, just before we'll probably move on with Handy Ann because we're getting a lot into there's really a lot of interesting travel talk. But yeah, we'll.
Oh yeah.
But I still appreciate it. I still appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like, so Hop Hop like tells Anne to like give the key to Chuck since the planners need more time to pack. And Anne had no, like she completely forgot who Chuck was.
Yeah, like no, I felt okay. When I saw this episode the first time, I felt exactly like I was like, "Who the fuck is Chuck?" Like, I honestly forgot who Chuck was. Like, I'm sorry, like that whole scene of Chuck spitting on the anthill, the running away and crossing into another tree was so good. Oh, that was great. That was great.
Yeah, like even before that, like I think we all kind of like touched on Anne's guilt for this episode. But then like I love how Hop Hop makes that joke about like flaming locust tornadoes, and then it like happens immediately after, only just like fueling Anne's anxiety about it. And then of course we get Chuck, but like we get this other dude Gary first. I just love the I just like that entrance.
That was so good. The whole segment was just hilarious.
Yeah, so then and then like I like how they zoomed in on Anne kind of like monologuing about like doing the best for like for the planners, and then like it cuts to like her in the store with that like teenage frog guy.
That was a that was a really fun transition.
Like and that poor dude always has to like put up with Anne.
Yeah.
Like the first time didn't like Sprig like interrogate him.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Spring Spring almost beat him up.
Yeah, and then we get the like Sprig was adorable in his like slingshot like side plot. And like fun fact, like there's a screenshot, not they're not a screenshot. There's a moment where like Sprig is like thinking, and Matt actually like posted a screenshot of this like maybe like a month or two before season 2, and he's like, "Oh, here's a picture from season 2," but it was so like vague. Everyone was just like, because it was Sprig inside his room, and they didn't show the suitcase, so we had no idea what the context was. But that was just
Matt.
Yeah, that's just Matt trolling us.
Freaking Matt. Like he just messing with us.
Learning a lesson or two about trolling your audience. It's always enjoyable when that happens.
Yeah. I mean, that whole scene of Planters packing was just so fun, because I feel like they did a really, really, really good job of getting just creating the hype, the sense of adventure. Because like every planter, like we got like time of each of them to see them pack. I mean, I know Polly was quick, but like it was just still really nice to see how invested each of them were in this adventure. So that was just pretty cool.
I just wish that we saw like Sprig shows us he has like a closet just for slingshots. I wish we saw like different kinds of slingshots in the past, but I guess it's just for like comedic effect that Sprig eventually just ends up choosing like none of these and just sticks with his default. And even
in general, like the yeah. So I think like I love the packing scene too, because like as this is like the first episode in season 2, they easily could have just made it just kinda about Anne, you know what I mean? Because that's pretty much just her story. The Sprig slingshot one doesn't really like matter too much, I guess, in the Sprig's stuff this season. But it's a really just a good job of kind of like reestablishing like the dynamics between all the characters. You know what I mean? It kind of gives you an idea of like, okay, like, because you already know them for season 1, you're already familiar with Hop Pop, Sprig, Polly, but like it's just a great way to kind of just let you know who these characters are, what they're invested in once we get further into the season. I think like, yeah, I just think that's great. It's just a good way to kind of tell us, okay, like what are the planters about? What do they want? Okay, there we go. So yeah.
And especially Sprig is like the most adventurous one of the planners. And so I think it felt right to like have him be like the most enthusiastic and like
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest worrywart too.
Pardon?
I'm the biggest worrywart. Like I'm saying, no, worrywart.
Or Hop Up or Sprig?
Oh, Sprig. Like he was freaking out over his slingshots.
Oh, right, yeah. I forgot about that part.
Honestly, I thought he mispronounced that word. I was like, why not speak that?
No, I just wasn't sure if you were talking about like Hop Hop or Sprig, but yeah, like Sprig's.
Oh, nah, yeah.
I guess he gets that from Hop Hop, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was really funny. It was like Polly just threw her. Like, what did she throw her bucket in? Like a bucket shaped suitcase,
Yeah.
right? Like, what was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then like Hop Hop's like folding all of his ascots.
Yeah.
I remember seeing like the storyboards for like the ascot itself, which is like, I feel it's like a nice scene, but I feel bad for like just imagining like the animators like making sure like each of like Hop Hop's like folding motions must have been a pain.
Yeah, they have to pay attention to like the creases of the ascots, like yeah, that must have been painful.
And even before that, yeah, we got Anne visiting Loggle for supplies, and that's when he shows us like the green magic goo, and I love how like I think this is the first time Loggle doesn't finish his like sentence with like a negative connotation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't
Yeah.
he doesn't
They
ruin
make
the
fun of
moment.
He completely
nice.
subverts the guy. Like, he expects to like he made like the whole show just makes you think he's gonna fail us again, but he's actually useful this time. And just what I really enjoy about the scene is the fact that Loggle and they're like, oh, that's weird, you know, because like something's off. Like Loggle's actually helpful.
Yeah, and even once we get into the I love the lighting, how like he like takes Anne like to like this like back not even this back room, just like something behind a curtain, and all of a sudden it's like the green scary light, and like Anne cuts him off like mid monologue.
Like, where did he say he got it again? Like I think like how did Loggle even get his hands on that?
He made it. He said he called it his latest
Oh, what?
concoction.
The fuck, Loggle? Okay, he's gonna have to crack up some of that for the invasion. Like that's like what the fuck, Loggle? Like,
This is kind of like a Maddie thing to do. Like
yeah, I mean, if it's natural for Maddie, but this man, Loggle,
he's a
like,
woodsmith.
he was just in wood. Yeah, like, what the fuck is he doing with this thing? Like, what was he planning on doing with it? Like, you just carved wood, bro. What did you do with this thing? Just like what is wrong with him? I have so many questions. Like, he just fucking made this during his spare time. Like, seriously, man. I don't even know. That's why Loggle's so good.
Yeah, I just wish Anne kind of like learned from just in general. Like I don't know what the lesson here is in terms of just specifically like buying stuff without reading the label, or I guess Anne has come a long way, but she still has like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still in that weird like awkward middle period where like she's trying to be like more responsible, but she's still doing like stupid stuff. So like, it's cool that she does make that mistake though. Like either way, because she still has changed. She's still you can definitely feel like Anne is different. Like I said before, she's a little less selfish than she was before. But like she's still doing stupid stuff, like not reading the label to something obviously dangerous. But yeah, I mean it's still very fitting for the character because what's cool about Anne and I think like this season is like since she's in that weird like middle period too, she also gets to like mess around with Sprig or Polly and stuff. So like you kind of still have that idea kind of established here with her just getting like the vegetable goo or whatever it is. So yeah. I just think that's the neat thing to set up that she's still not perfect. She's still not our super responsible Anne that we'll get in season 3, but like she's getting there. She's just gonna screw up a few times here and there. So yeah.
Right. And then we already covered a little bit of the Polly trolling Sprig. I just liked all the expressions on the planners.
Oh yeah. Yeah, her evil little face. That was great.
Yeah, she's just a demon, and then Sprig's just like
Yeah.
losing it in the eyes.
Sprig screaming, yeah.
So then we get back to the like Anne. We get that montage with Anne, and I'm just reading the label. Just like Lago literally says, just don't add too much, and she still does it.
Yeah, dumps the whole thing over. But yeah, we during that whole month didn't TJ Hill didn't he release the whole soundtrack for that?
Yeah, like the dancing, not dancing thing. Yeah, the construction music somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he dropped that. I don't know. I listened to the whole thing once, but yeah, nah, it is. Yeah, like always. I mean, this is. I think that this was. I think Matt said like he always felt like he underused them in season 1, and like yeah, this was really Matt starting to bring TJ Hill more onto the show. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was like one of my minor nitpicks from season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so like once all that happens, like Pixels mentioned earlier, like Anne like made it look like Bowser's Castle. I guess before we get into like the evil vegetables, like Anne just added like a giant dagger to the top. Like, what is she expecting to like stop? Like, like is she just imagining like a bird just like flying into it deliberately? But
yeah, I guess so. I mean, like with Amphibia, like giant creatures flying around all the time, right?
Yeah, like you had those giant bugs like back in like what was it, like episode 1, like crashing into the planter's house. So I guess you could have like I don't know. There's so much crap in Amphibia. Like it's got to get something. You know what I mean? I don't think Anne had a whole like strategy plan. That's kind of more of Marcy's thing than anything, or Sasha. Either or, it depends on the situation. But like, she was probably there's something in Amphibia that thing could stab. I don't know, some big fly or something. Yeah, gotta be.
Sure. Yeah. It just kind of checks out, really. You go, yep, that seems fair that Anne would try and build something like that. Is it going to work? Maybe. But it looks cool.
Yeah. I guess it can look intimidating. Maybe. I don't know.
yeah, and then we get the evil vegetables rising from the rising from the earth. And I was gonna say soil of the earth, but like just like I don't know if you watch Over the Garden Wall, like that's like one of the Beast's lines. I don't know why I thought of that, but yeah, we have like the what's the name of the alien from Alien? It's like the xenomorph.
Yeah, Xenomorph.
Yeah, xenomorph eggplant. You have like the the thick turnip.
There's like a little. There's like a little fart when like you found fart sound effect when it came out of the ground. Like that was funny.
And then we get like that random pumpkin, whatever. They're not as like iconic.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get that they grab Polly, action mode, and even before like like I like how even when they're like in danger, like for some reason when Sprig's suffering, like Polly's just like so casual about like Sprig getting like yeah, just Sprig suffering in general, like here and then even Marcy at the gates, like he gets like dragged away. And then when he like comes back, like she's just like casually like, "Oh, you're okay."
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's with it, man. But I mean, I feel bad for Sprig, but it was hilarious though when like the slingshot broke him in the face. Like,
And didn't he say
I mean, Paul just laughing. That was great.
and didn't
Oh,
he
go
say
ahead.
like Silver like this one was like his most reliable one?
Yeah.
And then I kind of wish like with all of Amphibia's fight scenes, like I wish they were longer, but I kind of get it, and it doesn't like over. It doesn't. I guess you couldn't get like a super complicated fight with like these vegetables, but like we get those like funny moments with like Hop like shredding the potato one, and then like and like decapitating the other like the xenomorph one.
This is very like simple. Like there's not really like a ton really to say about it, unfortunately. Like I mean, I've talked about like Amphibia's fight scenes like quite a bit, like with Combat Camp and Reunion and such. Even though again, Amphibia isn't like an action show. You know what I mean? This isn't like your like Spectacular Spider-Man or something, right? Where
Yeah.
like you're gonna have like this super amazing, like awesome fight scene like every episode. But there's usually some really cool like set piece or something or another to make you kind of remember it. And like mainly this is like, you know, when Anne's eyes turn blue, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But and she goes like all crazy on the vegetable monster. But yeah, this one's like pretty simple. I honestly kind of forget about it, like in terms of like action scenes for the show. It was only like till I watched the episode, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like a kind of action scene here. I kind of forgot about that. Like, yeah, there isn't really much to like to run home about, unfortunately. But it gets better as we get through the season, especially when we get to like Toadcatcher and stuff. So, but yeah.
Right. And then like Polly uses or Sprig uses Polly like a that kind of like reminded me of like Angry Birds just because like Polly is like a circular character and going through a slingshot. But yeah, like all the vegetables combine into that I forgot the name of the reference. It's like veggie
Voltron?
not Voltron. It's
Yep.
something
No,
Veggie
it's something
Voltrons.
else. I forget though.
let me
What
check
was it?
the trivia if they has it.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't bring it up, but it's like
Yeah,
like something
I
Frobo.
remember Matt. Didn't Matt post? So, like he put like I know it's like the shot of it swinging around towards his back, and then there's a lightning shot. Like yeah, that's a direct reference to something. I remember. Didn't Matt post something about it? Like
It's some anime. I don't know what it is though, but
Oh, it's a parody of Robo. So
okay.
it's a robot mech from 1974 anime of the same name.
okay, there it is.
But yeah, that design was very I don't know, it was just like a fun little like mini boss for them to fight. Eventually like Anne's traps like An- like Anne's uh Anne's traps are like pretty much like task what's the opposite of task failed successfully? It's like task succeeded unsuccessfully or something. I don't know. But it's
Task successfully failed.
right. I guess so. And it destroys the house and the show really makes like a big like scene out of it. Which I guess like in the moment that really like in the moment, like it kind of like freaked you out, like oh, like it's the premiere and they're about to go and like they just took out the house, but for like those like maybe that 1 or 2 minutes, like that had me like doubting, like oh man, did this trash like the planet home? But
Yeah, I thought that too. Like, I seriously thought like this is going to be permanent, like right here. Like this is going to last.
Hmm. That's certainly an extreme moment.
yeah, and then like that pretty much we've seen how like Anne's powers have like surfaced in the past, so like it kind of makes sense. Like this is what kind of brought that moment back again, which this time with the blue powers, it was a lot less ambiguous than the first time, which I'm really happy
Yeah.
about that. It's like the show.
Yeah.
It's like the show's reminding you, like, oh, you. It's like we remembered this, and this time, like, there's no debate this time.
Yeah, it's not an animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here's
there's
your
a
next
whole like
clue.
sound effect for it and everything. Like at that point there, you're telling like when I saw that the first time, like because I think I did notice it in episode 1, but I was like, okay, well that's kind of interesting, but it didn't really go anywhere throughout the whole season. So I kind of forgot about it. But like once we got it like here, I was like, oh, okay, that has to be like we're doing something with it this season, right? We can't just ignore that like for another time, else I'm gonna get a little not annoyed, but like I'm gonna have a question mark in my head, you know? Like so yeah, I just think like I said it before and I'll say it again, like Handy Ann does a really good job just setting up like this whole season. Just like in terms of like tone or like feel of like the show's gonna get a lot bigger and like all this stuff we kind of hinted at with like the planters and stuff, or there's other stuff like we already had before is still there, but we're just expanding and making it bigger. And the blue eyes just kind of tell us like, okay, like this is definitely going to be important this season. We're not ignoring it this time. Like so, I always thought that was great. So yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's pretty good.
Sunsfury, I know you wanted to like talk a little bit about this too, right? Like with the
Yeah. So it could come part of why season two's eye moment is a lot more noticeable and a lot more obvious and made more of an impact in the community is part of that is in the presentation of it, because in season one we do actually get a fairly. I went back and watched episode 1 for a bit to find the moment, and kind of surprised me just how much emphasis was actually placed on that moment. More than I remembered, more than I thought. So it was looking back, it's a very clear, yes, we were supposed to pick this up. It wasn't subtle for all of us clue finders to randomly encounter and go, oh my goodness, what does this mean? But the season 2 one gives us it's a bit closer up, I think. It's a bit closer up on her eyes. And one of the big things is shadowing. So in the season 1, Anne's face is all, in general, about the same lighting. However, in season 2, we get a bit of a top-down view of her. We see a whole bunch of her faces covered by her hair and shaded in, and, well, covered from the sun by her hair. And that makes the blue really pop, combined with the fact that this is one of Amphibia's close-up shots, so we see real eye design as opposed to the kind of beady eyes that we usually see, and it really pops. And especially because we were kind of primed to start thinking about it way back a long time ago in a land far, far away, it just pops really hard. A whole lot of people saw it and went, this is important. We were thinking about this all season 1 and debating it for a year, and people arguing over if it was an animation error or not. And the show did a whole bunch of things right to say this means something, and it's going to be relevant in the near future. To those who spotted it were right, here's your payoff.
right, it was
I
really.
think
Oh, sorry, Sunsfury, go ahead.
really, like you can just. It's impressive just how much of an impact it had on the community at the time. Like, it worked very well.
Yeah, and it
That's
definitely
what I have
plays
to say.
into like what Nick said, like why this was such like a big premiere for us, and yeah, just those blue eyes. Like I think like you and Impact kind of covered it well already, but yeah, it's just really satisfying. That's all I can really add on.
Yeah, like yeah, I don't know that either. It's a really great moment. Just really gratifying to have something like this here, you know? Especially after a year of just like thinking, does this mean anything? Like, will this lead into anything? And then like the first episode of season 2 is just yes. Like it's just straight up yes. Thank you for paying attention.
And yeah, I think it's also important to note, like in season 1, we didn't really get a lot of like mystical elements like playing a big role into the show, except maybe with the exception of Bizarre, but that's more like just like illusion and like just like being
Yeah.
sneaky, I guess. But like the blue powers, like that at the time we didn't even know if it was blue powers. Like we just assumed, okay, like blue powers. But yeah, just like showing us like first time it's like okay, we don't know when it's gonna come back, but like when we saw the blue eyes again, like it feels it's more prominent, which means like maybe this season we're gonna like learn a little bit, at least a little bit more about it. Like maybe like Impact mentioned earlier, like if they did the same thing again, like they didn't address this at all until season 3, then it would kind of feel like a little bit like okay, like we got this teaser like every 20 episodes. Like what's the hold up? But yeah, like as we know, like season 2 definitely definitely addressed this. Yeah, so Anne took the finishing blow and like she did the finishing moves on Veggie-robo. I like how she kind of just like the thick turnip still like survived. She just told it like to like just go away.
Yeah. She's like, get. She's like, get. That was great.
Yeah, imagine he returns for the finale.
Yeah.
him and Apothecary Jeremy need to return. Those are the biggest, the most requested cameos.
Sure. You can have your dreams.
Yeah, I kind of like how like this is when like once everything's like all once the whole conflict ends, like this is where Anne kind of reveals like what happened, and the players like you can see like they like that brief moment like the players like understand what Anne's going through, and they're like they like what did Hop Up say? He's like, "Oh, we're not taking this journey for you. We're taking it with you." It was a really nice moment between them.
Uh, I'm glad Amphibia has some amazing parent characters.
Yeah. Oh my. Like at least Sprig and Polly like as well. They know like they can read Anne as well. That's why I like it too.
Yeah.
Like I think
Yeah,
this isn't the first time where like Anne kind of. Oh, this reminds me of Anne versus Wild, where like Anne kind of has like the same like, oh, like I just wanted to like, I just wanted to hang out with you guys. She like she wanted to do like everything she did in whatever segment it was. It was for like for them, even though everything backfired. But they still like appreciated Anne's like, they still appreciate like the effort Anne went through.
Yeah, the Planters are such a healthy family. It's just nice to see that. You know what I mean? Like they can appreciate the care and love that like each member has for them, even when they screw up greatly. You know, that's just really nice here.
I think like I think my favorite thing how what this establishes too is I love like the Planters dynamic with Anne in like season 2 is so much fun because they really feel like a big old family here. And like I just love it. The care and love they have for each other is like expressed so well in 2A, really 2A specifically. You really feel that progress we got of like Anne kind of being like someone they have to take care of to being like a full part of like the Planter family, which is why After the Rain works so well as an episode. But yeah, in season 2 they just like, I think that line in and of itself kind of tells you like Anne really is a part of the Planters now. She really is a part of the family. Like, and I think they do such a good job of like handling it in 2A. It's honestly like I honestly think it's just great, like how they handle it. I think it's even better than season 3, where Anne feels more like an equal in the family here. In season 3, she's kind of just taking care of them, and it's a little bit of a different dynamic. But I think this is the best like Anne and Planter stuff we get out of like kind of the whole show for me. I just love their dynamic. I think it's great. So yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting take. But I know I've discussed that with you before about like Anne's role in the family. Yeah, it's really an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, because I talked about it more in detail like on Reddit and stuff. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's just really cool to kind of have Anne be like more of a family member, I think, here than like, because I think in season 3 she definitely still has it. You know what I mean? Like, obviously they still have that bond, they still have that love for each other. But I think season 2 just does a really good job of like giving like the fruits of our labor in season 1. So I think like, yeah, it's just fun to see that in 2A. You really get the sense that they're one big old family that just love and care for each other no matter what happens, and it's great. So yeah.
Thank you, Impact. Yeah, and then like I like how Anne is willing like it's no surprise that like Anne's willing to like put the trip on hold just to try and like repair the house, but then of course we have Chuck, the MVP, who just like
Let's go.
Chuck's a master builder in this world. Like,
Yeah.
like it took him like what, like 15 seconds, or not even 15 seconds, like 10 seconds to like just repair the whole house, which is
That was crazy.
I think this is like one of the most like cartoony moments in Amphibia. I think the first one being like that episode from Taking Charge where they get like shocked and then they like get propelled off the mountain onto the floor, like to like ground
Yeah.
level. And then you have like Chuck just like rebuilding this entire home in like just a matter of seconds, which it's a little cartoony, but like it's still it's a fun scene showing that Chuck doesn't just grow tulips.
You can see, like, I guess we can say, I don't even know what he repairs houses too, I guess. Funny thing to add on.
Maybe growing tulips is a hobby, and this is how he like makes his living.
Yeah, that's his actual job, yeah.
This side gig.
Well, if that's his job, it is a very good. He does it very well.
He's probably why Wartwood is. Wait, hold on. Is that? Oh, wait, is that why Wartwood can? I guess we can use Chuck as a canon explanation. Like anytime like Wartwood gets wrecked up, like Chuck is the one who repairs it. There we go. Like, anytime, like in the dinner when the top of the Planter's home gets blown off, Chuck probably repaired it that same night. There we go. Chuck the Chad right there.
Hey, presto, indeed.
Yeah, it's fitting that like the character that's probably responsible for like putting everything back together or everything into place is voiced by the show's creator.
Yeah. Man. I wonder if like do you think he did the scream when he like remember when he bumped into the tree and like more like I don't even like what were those things, like
Scorpions.
the hornets, like they came out. yeah, the scorpion. There was something, but like, you think he's the one who did the scream when they attacked him?
Probably, yeah.
That was hilarious. Like that was so good. Like I kept on replaying that scene. I just couldn't stop laughing. Like, it was so funny.
Yep, and then like the episode pretty much ends with all of them like they just immediately head out, and at the time, I think everyone was like kind of thinking like, oh, they didn't say goodbye to anyone; they just left. So
They just straight up dipped.
yeah, I'm glad Return to Wartwood like had like the reunion, but yeah, at the time it was like,
Yeah.
oh wait, Spring didn't say goodbye to Ivy, like what?
I didn't even think about that.
And like Hop Hop and Sylvia and
Yeah, and Wally. Like, well, maybe Wally wasn't in town like that. Yeah. So I mean, we know we do meet him somewhere.
yeah, we
shoot,
knew Wally wasn't in the well, we didn't know if Wally was in town at the time, but he was definitely like gonna head out at some point.
He was somewhere.
And then I guess we can touch on.
Oh shoot! Did we mention? Yeah, it was right before.
Yeah, I was about to
I think
mention
it was
the
when
box.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just like Anne suggested bring the box, and then Hop Hop's like nah, and then we get that like quick like that very quick like flashback, or not even flashback, just like yeah, I guess it is a flashback, just like the night before, where like Hop Hop's like looking over at the spot, and it was just a really nice, quick, brief scene where you can see like Hop Hop's guilt.
Yeah. The nice reminder of the many plots that season 2 is like taking on right there, and it just what makes Handy Ann so good. Like those quick, tight little nods, like them basically telling you, "Yeah, we're gonna take care of it this season. Just wait." Like it's just really good.
And even
Plus, I mean, oh, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead, Nick.
I mean, it's just I can't imagine. I don't know. I just can't imagine how Hop Hop feels. Like literally right after he's like, "Ann, we're not taking this trip forward. We're taking it with you." And then like he has that guilt of the fact that he's betrayed her trust. Right? Like I just can't imagine like how much that hurts.
And even the way when Anne brings up like Anne's like pretty correct. Like, why would they just leave the box there? But then, like, she trusts Hop Hop too much, and she's like giving him like throughout like those episodes. I'm gonna call them just like the Hop Hop box episodes or Hop Hop moments where it's like Anne versus Wild, Bizarre, and here it's like each of these segments, Anne is like giving Hop Hop more like agency in how to like and on how to like get back home, basically like what to do. And it's just like every time it's like she's giving him more and more like more and more agency, and Hop Hop keeps like he's like gambling more with Anne's trust every time.
Yeah, because like I mean, each time they grow closer, right? Like that means he's gonna be like. Because it would be easier if they barely even knew each other, but it's the fact that like they get closer and closer as a family that means he's going to have to take care of her, right? Like he's going to have to like he has to find her a way back home, right? I mean, like, and like just the closer you get, like just the more he loves Anne, like the more it hurts him to keep this kind of secret going, and like yeah, it's slowly closing in on him.
And yeah, just burying the box for for another 13 another 10 another half season is just oh man, is like we've already touched on this like in Bizarre, but yeah, it's just
That's just great. Buried for the entire season. Like that's just buried for a third of the show. I mean, we mentioned that's just crazy, right?
not even third, maybe actually a third of the show. And I remember Sunsfury brought up at the time like it's not about whether the box is like with them or not, it's just what it represents.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I think we covered majority. Oh, we got that final the final joke where it's like no turning back now, and then they forget to give the key to Chuck.
See, that's what I love about this show. Like they could have just edited it, but they're like, one more joke. Like, yeah, okay. Like
We're turning back
they
now.
could have just kicked off that episode. Yeah, we're turning back now. Like that was great.
Yeah, that's pretty much. That's pretty much a Handy Ann. And then I think we can go into the next segment, which was Fort in the Road, which was written by Todd McClintock, storyboards by Alicia Arosha and Silver Paul, and directed by Joe Johnson. So this episode is basically Hop Hop deciding how the trip should go. The kids are getting fed up with that. Then eventually, once we get to the ruins of despair and Sprig ditch him, we learn a lot about the I guess the mythology or the timeline of this world, just with this those like 2 minutes alone. Once we like get down into one of these like robot factories, and like eventually Hop Hop discovers them. We get the conflict between him and he gets captured and has to rescue him while like Sprig uses like the book to basically like overload the machine and causes it to self-destruct. And yeah, just overall, like Hop Hop kind of learn, like the kids learn to kind of like listen to Hop Hop more and try not to do all these like wacky adventures. And Hop Hop learns to like give them a little bit more. He gets a little bit more like less strict about like about just like handling the trip in general. And you just get that nice scene at the end where they think it's all over, and like we eventually get a robot emerging from the rubble. And yeah, that was Fort in the Road, and this is definitely like the other half of what like excited the fandom so much at the time. Like I remember, actually, I'm not gonna talk too much about the main reveal. Not yeah, like the main reveal yet, but just overall, it was a fun episode. It was nice to see this world is more advanced than we thought. And I think this is probably one of the last few like Anne and Sprig like Anne and Sprig do something, Hop Up tells
Oh
them not to
shoot!
do it, and Hop Up gets mad when they do it. Episodes like I think that they acknowledge it later on. I just think it's nice. We don't get these kinds of episodes are a lot less frequent than they were in season one. And like seeing one here that's especially like very like I don't want to say it's not lore heavy. It just has a lot of like background lore. It was really
Yeah,
satisfying and fun. I
it's a
guess
lot of things to think on.
yeah, for sure. I guess starting off with Lemur, what were your thoughts on Fort in the Road?
I guess similar to the premiere, not really much else to say other than it's another fun episode. Um, I mean, of course, this is like significantly weaker than than the first episode, but it still had its moments. Uh, it's nice to know that even with everything that happened, the kids will still be kids. We're still gonna be going with some fun adventures while going around Amphibia in the journey to Utopia. Even though Hop Hop decides to try and hinder that fun. Uh, it, I think this episode is just another nice showcase of the dynamics of the Planter family after season one, where uh, we're like it shows how well they have gelled together as a family, and everything everything they do is just natural. Like, you know, I mean, we've been seeing this kind of dynamic for ice season now, but it's nice to know that even though the show has been changing a bit, like that core between the planters not change at all. Uh, nice to nice to see. Excuse me. Nice to also see some lore bits here and there with the robot factories and all that stuff. It's interesting how it's interesting to think about those robo factories now after everything we've known, and I think you guys are going to talk about that later. Um, yeah, yeah, I got nothing else to say other than this is just another fun episode.
All right, thank you, Lemur. Um, Impact. What were your thoughts on this segment?
Okay, so Fort in the Road for me is it's a really nice, kind of like what's the word? It's a nice little fun episode with the Planter family again, right? You have Anna Sprig kind of like doing something, I guess, stupid or something that's against Hop Pop's wishes, but in a weird way, you're kind of, for me at least, I was totally with Anne and Sprig. Like, we're going like across Amphibia, and we're not going to explore it. Forget that. Like, I want to see all these crazy places. I want to have fun too. So I'm not sure if the rest of the audience felt that way, but I was totally with Anne and Sprig when they jumped out of that cart and like explored like those robot factories and stuff. And like, um, and like the big thing for me was like, as soon as we got to like the robot factory, my mind was racing. I'm like, we have robots in this show now? What? Like, what does that mean? Like, cause I thought we were just kind of like medieval, kind of like whatever. We're not gonna have like any like super sci-fi junk. Like, there's no way. Like, but now we have like the robot factories and stuff, and then we have like Frobo coming up, and it gets my mind like thinking like it makes it seem like that right there kind of tells me like, and the fact that they set it up so early means like, okay, so we're gonna learn a lot of lore this season, right? We gotta learn like something really big. Like, there's gonna be some crazy stuff, and like, yeah, I just really like this episode. It's honest, it's still a fun episode with Anne and the Planters and such. But like the questions you ask as soon as you go in that robot factory is just great. I'm just like, my mind is just racing. So yeah, that's how I feel about that episode. It's great, very fun. Yeah.
Thank you, Impact. Sunsfury, what were your thoughts on Fort in the Road?
So, Fort in the Road, our first adventure outside Amphibia. Well, the valley. I enjoyed it. I I always have a bit of a taste for the world is much more ancient than people think, and there's all kinds of ruins across the world kind of trope. And when Amphibia just kind of out of the blue went, "Oh hey, guess what we have? We have some ancient ruins and some strange things, and for some reason people are still in a medieval fantasy society. Oh, something's going on here." That was a solid hook into season 2. It's kind of, if Handy Ann was the all right, let's get back into how the plantars work and how our main set of characters are going to work together. Um, Ford in the Valley kind of just says, okay, Amphibia is a massive place, and it is going to be very different to what season 1 had going on in it. And here's that taste. Here's a taste that is going to completely change everything and set you up for more. And oh, it's fun. And then also, of course, Frovo setting up one of the longer running gags in the whole series was also fun to start.
Thank you, Sunsfury. Nick, what are your thoughts on this segment?
Honestly, I mean, I disagree with everything they've said here about Four on the Road. I mean, it's a really nice way to kick off the journey and just sort of show like, I mean, because this is, well, season 1 we were very limited to Wartwood, right? And like, I feel like they could only tell so many different types of stories. I feel like there. So like this is like sort of like a new story for Amphibia, I guess, and like just to see how the Planners are thrown to this new conflict and just like how they're all going to react to it. It was really on point. Like especially Hop Hop. I mean, it just makes sense why he crafted an actual rule book of surviving on the road. It makes sense and it's hilarious and like the kid's frustration, like that makes sense too. So like I don't know, I mean everything's on point in this episode. It might not be as I might not love it as much as Handy Ann, but like this is definitely something I appreciate a lot.
Thank you, Nick. And Pixels, what were your thoughts on the segment? No. Okay. Oh man, thank you, Pixels, for coming on. No.
Yeah.
But luckily for us, Pixels wrote, like, he jotted down all the rules that Hop Hop listed in this episode. So
Wow.
I'm just gonna. He probably wrote them in order. Okay, so rule number 98: never strike a heroic pose on the wagon. It's a sign of hubris that incites danger. That incites, disaster. And yeah, that was like the first one we got. Okay, I'll just go over all the rules instead of like talking about each moment. So rule number 29: no shouting. Marauders will follow the sounds and steal your skin. Rule number 200.
Yeah, what the heck? What?
Rule number 243: all natural phenomenon lead to a unnatural death. Rule number 149: never drive faster than a June bug can fly. Rule number 193: don't stop anywhere claiming to be the best. Okay, that's a pretty good rule. But rule number 194: no ice cream in the wagon. That's not a good rule. Rule number 345: no complaining. And then like later on in the episode, like rule number 17 and 36, you just list them. But then rule number 55, he just like
It was like
says it with
Rule
such
55?
yeah, he
Like,
says it with such like he says it with his chest. And then rule number 68: never ever pull a lever. That's a Sprig rule. And then like this is the last rule we hear from him. Is like one of the earliest ones. It's rule number 2: don't celebrate too early until completely out of danger. Which is like I think like the most important rule for amphibians as a whole.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But yeah, starting off the episode, we got those little signs about them leaving the valley, and one of them said, "May Frog help you." And I kind of like how Sprig's excited, and then Anne has that one line about I'm waiting for the quote to show up while I'm. Oh, she says like the trip. There's a lot riding on this trip, and she wants to keep her expectations in check, but then she gets like cut off by like looking at the view of the valley. I don't know, I just thought that was a really nice, just a very meta it's not too meta, but it's like enough meta for it to resonate, I guess,
Yeah.
with the fandom. About keeping expectations in check. But then immediately getting like amazed by the spectacle.
This is really, I mean, it was just a really good scene, you know. I mean, just showing off. It's because I feel like they know exactly what they're doing. They know we spent 20 episodes straight just stuck in Wartwood, just waiting for the valley to thaw over, just so we can see what's out there. And yeah, they did a really good job of it. They just made it absolutely beautiful, and like all we want to do is just see all the sights.
Right, and then like every time Sprig like I feel like Hop Hop based this entire like rule book on like what Sprig shouldn't be doing half the time he's like interacting with them. Like Sprig immediately wants to like like immediately go out into like the adventure, and then Hop Pop immediately tells him, "Okay, wait, turn back and look at me for a sec." And I like
I wouldn't
how,
be surprised.
and especially in the trailer, like this is like the first. I don't want to say the yeah. I think this is like the first. Actually, no. The season 2 trailer started off with them talking in the wagon, and then I think the second scene is when Hop Pop mentions like the line about like we're outside the valley, things can get dangerous. I just thought it was a really nice line in the trailer that like shows up very early on here, which makes sense. It's the start of the journey. And yeah, we get Hop Pop's rule books, and I like that gag about like all the kids are like reciting like a line that Hop Pop has probably told them like multiple times about like without books like civilization collapses.
Yeah, it's great, and just the fact that Anne joins in too, like that just really. I mean, we know, even so, we know they're family at this point. Like, it just really hammers it in. Like, it's a nice little touch with it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just nice. It's just endearing. Even so, they're just complaining right now about his rules.
But like yeah, just their expressions, you know that he's like said this like so many times that they're just like they're just numb to it now and just recite.
Yeah.
Especially with like Polly's like head getting like smushed by like Anne.
Yeah.
So yeah, Hop, and also like Hop Pop, if he bound this book by himself, like, and it's like a really nice looking like book too. Like he has like, if his acting career failed and his farming business failed, I mean, he could probably be a good like bookkeeper. And just especially in this premiere, like, because we know Sprig is the most adventurous one, so I just love all these jokes of like him like so energetic and so optimistic, and then like Hoppa always has to like bring him like just bring him back to earth, or not back to earth, like Hop Hop just has to like ground him in reality, or like especially in the moment where like Sprig is doing like that exact same pose as the guy in the rule book.
Yeah, that all lines up very nicely.
It's like this is everything Sprig always wanted, and then it's like Hop Hop wrote a book telling him not to do that, like not to do exactly that.
Honestly, now it's really sounding like Hop Hop did write this book on Spring. Like, this does feel like a book to tame Spring.
Can you blame him?
Yeah, especially with the levers thing. Like, yeah, so like Hop Hop wrote all these rules, and then I like how he left like coloring books, and I like how like even though Polly's like the youngest one, like he has like Sprig in like the seatbelt like booster seat thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got. Yeah, so then we get that quick thing of like Hop Hop just like rejecting every single like cool thing passing them by, like the rainbow, the like those racing snails, and the like the ice cream shop too. And then yeah, I just like how the kids get like increasingly like more like frustrated with him. I think like the ice cream was like kind of like the breaking point for them, where yeah, there's not much to add here onto this part, but also like when Sprig starts like talking about like how tired he is, like we see like Polly, she's doing that thing where like usually like with a
Oh,
the
yeah, that
joke
was
with the
really funny.
knife going over like over the
Yeah.
fingers, but like she only has like she only has like a
It's just
stub,
like a stub.
so she's just going back and forth with the pencil.
Yeah, that was really funny.
And we also got that brief reference with Anne's dad. Like Anne briefly mentioned him, like how he's kind of like a just like how he reacts to like road trips too. So like this isn't Anne's like first experience dealing with this
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of travel.
which is great.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like a little bit like overprotective. I completely forgot about that line. I feel like they mentioned something about Anne's dad. I think in Anne
Yeah, I
Hunter
think-
too.
Yeah,
This is the only moment.
Hey.
Yeah,
And yeah, like originally. Oh, go ahead, Impact.
no. You can go, Thumb. I wasn't gonna say.
Oh, I was gonna say like originally there was a deleted scene where Anne's like Mr. Boonchoi would have been in Anne versus Wild, but then they had to cut it out.
yeah, and I mean like. It's just I don't know. It's just weird to think back at like the sort of like a season 2 mindset where we knew absolutely nothing about our parents, right? And you know what I mean? Like it was just little things like that was basically all we had on Mr. Boonchoi.
Yeah, and like I wouldn't think of like Anne's parents being like important. You know what I mean? Like I never would have thought like they were kind of setting them up with like they sort of were already with like this episode. I guess a little bit with Anne's dad and Anne's mom. Once we get to the other episodes like Hopping Mall and stuff. But yeah, like you never, for me at least, I never would have pictured in my head, oh yeah, the parents are gonna be important. Like no, like I thought this is just some random line. I guess it kind of is probably like from a writer's perspective, but like it is interesting that they kind of set up their characters like already just from like Anne's kind of like point of view of them, and then we get to see that being kind of true once we get to like New Normal in season 3, but they're more expanded upon at that point, so they're a lot more of their own characters. But it's interesting to look back at that in season 2. So yeah.
Yeah, it was just so weird. Like we didn't like the show, or at least Matt knew we were going to eventually meet the parents, but then it's just impossible to. It was just impossible to pinpoint at the time that like it would actually happen or predict.
Yeah, like you wouldn't
Yeah,
thought you went to LA because usually like going back like, out of Amphibia, that sounds like a season, like a series finale thing. You know what I mean? Like going back, it doesn't sound like we would like go back by season 2, right? But like considering how fast, well, okay, I wouldn't say season 2 is fast, but like we definitely get to a point where like I don't know, it's just very different than I would expect. Like, so yeah, that's all.
Right.
yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone even saw it coming. Like, just the idea of them ever having such a great importance to the show. Like, no one. I don't remember seeing any theories about that at all. Like, we just. Pretty sure we thought we were just going to get, like, nice little nods towards our parents. You know what I mean? Like, no one ever saw it coming.
Yeah.
Well, not until it was very clear that that was gonna have to be where they went.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, we covered the montage and just like a brief thing, the funny bug sleeping and whatever. And then we so Sprig's like super frustrated. He's like about to like lose his cool, like where he's like mentioning like how mad he is, like if we see one more cool thing. And then like they call these structures the ruins of despair, which knowing what we know now kind of makes sense as like what was coming out of the entrance, I guess, from whatever perspective, from the perspective of like the other frogs, like probably 1,000 years ago. But yeah, Hop Hop makes that interesting line how before written history, like no one knew what this was, but I guess maybe that's just how I don't want to say how quickly everyone forgot about like Amphibia's golden age, but like I don't know. It's just a
Yeah, because like,
Honestly, it just. Oh, go ahead, Impact.
oh, I was gonna say like, because like, yeah, Andrews kind of goes like when he's talking about like no one even remembers our legacy. Like, it feels like a thing where like, because obviously the music box is a big deal for like the robot factories like turning on and stuff. But like, it's definitely one of those things where like, because they say ruins of despair too, so like obviously it's a bad thing, of course, like from the mural and stuff. But like the fact that like none of it like survives, like tells us like at least like the music box was like, I don't know, it's just such a big deal that like this super cool like advanced technology that would have like helped Amphibia out for years just gone in an instant. We go back to like medieval times. That like, I don't know, just the way like Andrews describes it works really well with what Hop states here. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, just what I was gonna say. Like, it just. I mean, it just makes you think about like what kind of state the area right outside of the valley was like. Because I mean, we've seen what Andreas's like basically his army being fully functioning like does to the environment, right? Like it just tears it apart, grades everything out. Like anything full of life is just destroyed. So you have to imagine, like, I know those factors are powered by like the music box, but like back when Andrews was talking about his quote unquote golden age and just how great it was back in the past. I mean, we only saw things from the Utopia's perspective. Like you just have to think, what was the state of Amphibia like? And then, like, I feel like when I think about that, that sort of explains how so much history could have just easily been lost. Like, it seemed like he was just supporting Utopia itself, right? Like, he wasn't too concerned about the state of Amphibia because you can just see, like, what his ambition does to it itself. So, like, it's all right there, yeah.
I do think it's interesting how like uh the factories themselves, like they're controlled by the box, but it was able to activate without. It was able to activate without the box, but I'm guessing the box was able to like control it from such a far distance. And then without the box, it's pretty much all these facilities probably just had no like stop receiving communication. And there's like this disconnection between like Utopia and everything else from the valley. So without the box, it's just those connections are cut off, and there's nothing really.
Yeah.
Maybe the people around the valley weren't really too involved.
I'm just betting like my bets are just you have this part of Amphibia that's super advanced, and you just have this other part that's basically just been like left behind to rot and just deal with like the effects of their ambition, basically. Because I mean, we saw for ourselves what it does, like what it needs to fuel itself. Like that's just what I'm betting. like it's people like Utopia was floating in the air, super advanced tech. And then the people on the ground, they didn't even know how to read or write yet. Like that's a giant difference I'm expecting with this.
Right. So yeah, then eventually, like, Anne comes up with a brilliant plan to to ditch Hop Hop, and they basically just like run out. Like, just she just gets Hop Hop to stop the vehicle, and then they just immediately run out, which is weird. How they could have just like done that without
Yeah.
alerting Hop Hop, but oh well.
Yeah. Like, just, I mean, no, what's really funny is the fact that I don't even. I mean, what was funny to me was the fact that Anne actually thought she got away with it. She was like, yeah, they got to the door, and it was like quickly sprayed guard. It's like a selfie. I think Hop Pop's getting onto it. It's like, Anne, like he noticed the very second you started running. What do you mean he's now starting to realize? like sometimes that girl shows how actually smart she is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just a little like. So no one ever tried. Like maybe this is just like a big. This is probably just a big cartoon coincidence. Just with apparently no one knows what was inside until Anne and Sprig just decide to like visit the front door. But I'm guessing like others have tried that before.
Yeah, that's good. Oh man. I mean, who was it that opened? Actually, yeah, that's a good point. Like, we haven't really seen anyone. Yeah, actually.
Like,
Well,
I mean, maybe there's been. I mean, it should have. It should have gotten its name for a reason, right? I mean, maybe there have been people who've gotten like injured or killed by messing around with these factories because they had like they basically had no idea what they were doing with them or something.
yeah, I mean, like Hop Hop, like almost dies, like being in like the factory itself. So I mean, I would think like because they have a whole security system there too and everything. Like once like Sprig starts pressing the buttons and stuff, they get really lucky like escaping out of there. And as soon as they do, it gets destroyed. So they can't really like study it. And yeah, like Hop Hop would have totally been dead if like Anne and Sprig weren't there or whatever. They just got really lucky with the book by throwing it in. So people are probably just straight up died there going inside. So unfortunately, but like that's what I would think anyway. So yeah.
I like how here, like, Sprig's first, like, thought is to touch everything. And then, like, in season 3, like, Anne's like, okay, Sprig, your main issue is that you you just want to touch everything and get ourselves killed.
Yeah.
There's some nice continuity there.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we get the return of, like, we get part 2, or act 2, of the Sprig pulls a lever arc, where I like we get that quick, like, stare down between him and Hop Hop.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, so... Oh, so Act 1 was back in Family Shrub, um, where they're visiting the different levels of the, like, the Planter family, like, not catacombs, that's a it's completely different. Just the Planter's basement, the different levels, and then for, I believe it was for Pollyanna, like the warrior Planter, like, she had the, like, not, oh, I think it was every floor had a lever, and Sprig just kept pulling them. Yeah, so that pretty much. So I think we are already we kind of covered like this. These are computers. This is like technology. This is like what? It's a big like WTF moment.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then yeah, like Sprig pulls the lever, then like it activates like this AI, and then you see like the shot of like you see the shot of like like a robot. And I remember like was it? I think this was in the trailer too. Like just the shot of we were trying. There were no clues. Like there weren't any hints that Amphibia was like a technological, like a post. Well, how do you describe it? A post-apocalyptic or just like post
Yeah,
dystopian?
post-apocalyptic.
Okay, like a post-apocalyptic setting. So when we saw like the promos of like this weird like that weird like control panel like coming up, we were thinking like, okay, maybe it's something mystical or like magical in nature, but then like no, it was just pure like sci-fi.
Yeah. And I think one of the great things about the whole reveal is that it doesn't feel too out of place. It still fits with Amphibia's art style in a way that you can kind of just go, all right, yeah, I can buy that that exists. And that because it's all like amphibian themed, these are like frog shaped robots and all that going on, you see it and go, okay, I can see that this is a natural part of the world, not hold up, how did we get to here? This isn't Amphibia. Like you might be if it went wrongly.
That's a really good point, actually, Sunsfury. Like, because I never really knew why. I just thought it was like very like, oh, there are robots. What? That's crazy. But I never thought like that doesn't fit. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm not sure what it was, but that that pretty much tells me why. Okay, I never thought about it like that. It's always a question I had. Like, why does Frobo seem like a-okay? Like, I don't care about it. But that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Frobo works because he is a frog robot. Like, you go, okay, that's absurd, like incredibly themed like a frog, like and something you would find in Amphibia. Like, this is the over the top level of, hey, we got a bunch of bugs and made them 10 times bigger than normal. You go, yeah, sure, this is Amphibia. Of course there's a giant dragonfly the size of a house walking around. Like, you wouldn't blink twice at that. So who would blink twice about a robot shaped like that? Now, if there's a box robot or a humanoid robot, that would be raising a lot more questions.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you guys there. I mean, I feel like what also just helps just the fact that like season 2 already has the idea of like the story opening up to like more ambitious ideas. Plus, it's on top of the fact that like we were, basically kept within the valley and just given the idea that we only know so much about Amphibia and the fact that there's a larger, grander world out there. So like, yeah, like frog robots. That even so, we got the impression that this is the medieval era. Like, it still weirdly fits in somehow. Like, it's still a big surprise, but it doesn't feel like they're mashing two things that shouldn't exist with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how the factory asks for just like raw material. So like it kind of like I like how the factory it's convenient from just like a writing standpoint, just like, but I like how the factory probably already plans out. It's already designed to like just take whatever material, like just whatever raw material can get, and then like is able to break it down into like something feasible to like actually manufacture stuff. Just like it just makes like the process a lot easier to like you're not thinking like, oh, like where does the minerals go or whatever. It's just like, okay, it just grabs the raw material and makes the robot. Okay, like I can get behind that. It's like easy. It's just a few steps, but yeah, like Hop Pop eventually finds out where the kids were, but he's like the first one to get like kidnapped. And we get that segment of like him going through like the filtration process or like just the processing of like him. Like, I'm surprised that laser only like, I'm guessing that laser wasn't too powerful to like rip his skin off, but rip his clothes. But who cares? This is like magic frog robots. Like they have the technology to do whatever. I like how like Hop Hop is like just like enjoying himself in like the washing process, but then just immediately gets like grabbed and then the stopper shows up. I just love that. So yeah, we get Anne trying to recover Hop Hop. Sprig's solution to like shutting down the machine is I like how the machine like didn't overload and just immediately like knew it was getting like BS'd. And then just like I think this was another trailer shot.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck? What the heck? What the heck?
Oh no, even before that,
was
like when
great.
Sprig just like presses a bunch of random buttons, and then like the AI
starts
is like, oh
immediately.
yeah, like intruder or whatever. Just I think this was the shot we saw in like a trailer or a TV spot where we thought, okay, maybe this isn't technology. Like this isn't technology. Maybe it's more like magical or mystical. Because it's like the machine is like glowing red and angry, and it didn't show it didn't show the buzz saw, so we didn't really associate it with technology.
Yeah, and I think one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was like the part where like Anne like crashes you the factory and stuff. I don't know what it is, but I really like that part. Like she's like jumping over like the laser and stuff, and she's like on the robot. arm. I don't know. That part looks really cool for like no reason. I don't know what it is. Like I look at that part all the time. I'm like, well, the animators did a really good job on that part. Like great. Yeah.
Yeah, it just really, I don't know. It's just really, it's cool, but also makes me laugh sometimes because it's like, you know what I mean? They just choose, it feels like they just choose a random time to turn off the animation. And it's like,
Right?
it looked really good in that scene.
Oh, I also liked how
Like,
like
I really liked it when, like, oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna make like quick like Anne used like a Frobot eye to like just smash the window in.
Yeah. I know, I really love the part where she, like, grabs it from her arm and just, like, slams it to the ground. There's just a flip. Like, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that whole sequence is just awesome. Like, I don't know, like, I don't know. It's just great to see. Like, I don't know. It's just awesome. I love that part. I just look at that part every time. I'm like, that was sick. That was awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, and then she makes that joke about like I think Sprig makes the disc joke, and then I forget how like young Anne is, because like when she
Yeah.
makes like she's like she doesn't know what a disc is. Like what? Like she says
I
she's
feel
like
like
she's from another dimension, not the '90s, but like discs were pretty like
Yeah, they were.
yeah,
common.
like I feel like she should know that. She should know that. Like even at 13, like I don't know, like even like I know like I feel like you would know what a disc is, even like at Anne's age. You know what I mean? Like it's a funny joke still, though. But
Yeah, it's there for the joke. Let's be real.
I mean,
Yeah, pretty much.
if the AI was saying like insert a VCR, maybe I'd be like more forgiving to Anne.
yeah,
Oh,
I guess it's because,
brings
like,
up the
Anne's the
question
type
of
to
the
stream everything,
audience
right? I
knows
mean,
what
she
it
already has,
is.
like, what, all her favorite shows is straight, like, downloaded to her phone. So I guess, I guess I'll give Anne a pass there. Just how she was raised.
Oh yeah,
About how uncultured she is.
and Libra brought up like there's a Dreamcast in the house, like, and yeah,
oh
like
yeah,
Mr. Boonchoi's a gamer, like he probably like spent hours explaining this to Anne.
And she just tuned him out.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that's probably what happened. Like Mr. Boonchoi like explaining like the Nintendo Sega rivalry to Anne in like every down to like every detail. But
Just explaining Sonic lore like verbatim, like all of it.
so yeah, Sprig just like throws the book inside the machine. We get like the blue screen of death like noise sound effect. Yeah, I just love that because it's like I immediately recognize the noise. And then yeah, I like how they're all running out. Like Hop Up and Anne are like running for their lives, and then like Sprig catches up to them. He's just like super happy while like everything is falling apart around them. Yeah, then eventually we get like I love that just when they think they got out and just like that explosion just like throws them like off screen, and like if you look at the freeze frames, it's just so I'm trying to pull it up for you guys, but that might
Yeah, that was sort of.
it's gonna take too much time, but like you can see like the explosion shot. It's just like a jump frame because you can see like the planets just like their arms are to their side and their face is just like dead inside.
You know, it's just a really funny moment. It's just a really funny moment because, like, because Hopper was trying to warn them about like celebrating too early, then they just get blown up.
Yeah, and then like Polly had her like own side adventure on this like while this is all happening. I mean, this is like my one complaint I'd have with this segment is that they really didn't have to separate Polly. other than maybe because she didn't have like the same mobility as them. Because like she doesn't have her legs yet, but like she still hops around sometimes. But I don't know. I just thought it was like an odd choice. Like probably because they wanted this to be like a Spran adventure, and then like Hop Hop crashes the party. But yeah, I just wish
Actually, no.
Polly was
What's
more involved.
doesn't this come back in like Lost in a Trophy? Doesn't Hopper like literally say like after the Roads of Despair
Yeah,
incident? Like yeah, to do the whole switcheroo. Like I really like that. I really like that.
yeah. I kind of like how like this episode like is still. I mean, this episode is it's a big episode. But I like how Hop Top like mentioned it later on and kind of like ground Sprig to the cheese museum.
Yeah. Yeah, those cheese hat.
Yeah, so Polly came back.
Literally handcuffed him. Like what the fuck? Wait, Hop just carries handcuffs later. Like what the fuck? Damn. Yeah, that was really funny.
Yeah, so like yeah, Hop Hop and Sprig all like reconcile. Yeah, like Sprig and
Oh
I
yeah,
like how
that was a
Sprig
really
and
cute moment. I have to say.
yeah, like they don't blow up. I think they're kind of justified. They would have been justified if they kind of like blew up on Hop Hop about like them being like trapped inside, but they kind of just like accepted fate and then and like it's mostly like Hop Hop's guilt and that like he like kind of realizes the error of his ways. I just liked how it
Yeah.
didn't because it's not really that often where like the kids kind of explode on the rest of the family or on Hop Hop. Like it's not. I think maybe Fiddle Me This was like the last time that kind of happened, and that's why it kind of felt like a big deal. But yeah, it's mostly like the players like accept their mistake, and then whoever's like in charge of that episode kind of like acknowledges the mistake, but then it's not nothing like groundbreaking. It's just nice to see.
I mean, that's just what I really like about the Planet family. You know what I mean? Like they don't break each other's backs over making mistakes, right? Like, they're just like, I mean, yeah, normally they're just like, oh, I mean, let's talk it out, then blah blah blah. I'm sorry for doing, you know what I mean? Like I just really. Plus, it gave us a really, really, really tender moment between Hop Up and Sprig. You know, just those two hugging each other tight. Like that's man, that's just so nice. Like I really like For the Road is a lot of things, but I do really love the fact that like it's also just sort of like I don't want to use the word exploration about, but it's more like it's an episode about the relationship in a way. So it's just really, oh yeah, yes. See, that's just that's so nice. It's hot. Like look at that. Great cooking hot pop will always be nice to see.
Mm.
And then so yeah, they all get ice cream, and I like how Anne we get like a tiny bit of Anne growth where she's like she doesn't take out the bug parts.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was enjoyable.
Yeah, now she has cavities when she gets back to Earth. So yeah.
And then the episode ends with like Sprig makes that joke where he kind of like when things are left unresolved, Sprig kind of like ruins the moment by like repeating it over and over again.
Yeah.
With like the guess will never know.
I was honestly wondering why he was even doing that.
Yeah, and then the segment ends with like what we know now, Frobo like rising from the rubble.
Robo.
And I guess
Yeah, bro.
I might like ramble on a little bit, but I really liked how Four in the Road kind of like establishes this is a factory. What are they making? And it's kind of obvious. Like if you like pay attention to like what's in like the AI's screen, you can see like it's a robot model. And then later on you can see more like components, like the hand and the eye or whatever. but I like how they don't really they hold off on showing like Frobo's reveal, and I think that's to help kind of like that's to help the transition from like making robot army making the whole robot army like more believable or less like just like easier to believe, because if they could have immediately showed like Frobo in this episode, and I think they do it in the next episode, but at least here it's just like, okay, factory, and then everyone makes their like assumptions, okay, and even though we know what it's leading to, it kind of it's not they kind of like the show at least leaves a little bit more like progression with the way Frobo is like following them around Amphibia, and it's basically like Amphibia's past catching up to them, and then eventually like Frobo like gets integrated into the group, and then by the time we get to True Colors, where like Andrews is like pulling out like this robot army from like the ruins of Despair again, it's like so satisfying to see. But
Amen.
yeah, and also like this is also a good time to bring up like the season 2 poster, because it's not like the season 2 poster I'm talking about is like the one where it shows like the wagon heading towards Utopia, and then all the characters are in like all the a close up shot of all the characters, and Andrews is in the background like in like darkness. Same thing kind of with like Grime and Sasha and Yuna and Olivia. And it's not too obvious, like people had to like point it out, but like you can see like the very tiny, like very bottom, you can see like Frobo's like head lurking out from behind like the ruins. And it was like
I didn't even know he was there till you guys mentioned it, honestly. Like, I've seen posts before, but I didn't know he was actually there. So,
and keep in mind, this was before the show. This was before season 2 started. This was like about season 2's announcement came about like a week or two before it actually aired. It was pretty close. It was like
Yeah, it was pretty.
It was actually delayed because of like the protests that were happening last year in America.
Yeah.
And like at the time, like myself and like other people too, like we were like when we got the high res version and like zoomed in, we're like, I remember like we were making observations like, okay, like how come the arms look kind of like metallic-y and the eyes look like headlights? Like, oh, is this a robot? And then at the time we're like, okay, maybe like no, like maybe it's just like some guy inside a suit just doing like maybe like a bunch of bugs are pulling a wheel or something, because we noticed all like the metallic features, like especially like the hands, like the fingers as well. Like it didn't look like it didn't look alive. Like, oh, Frobo's alive, but it didn't look like an amphibian.
Yeah.
Yeah, so especially with the eye glow, like that was like the first thing I was thinking, like, okay, like this is weird, like maybe it's just like an eye effect like from Reunion or End of the Year, with like all the toads had like those like red glowing eyes, even though it didn't really lead to anything, but maybe that was the same case here. But just also the eye shape itself looked very like unnatural. Like just everything about Frobo like in that background was very unnatural, and then that kind of led to the speculation, and then once we got Fort in the Road, everything kind of cleared up. I don't know, that's just like a that was just like a minor thing.
I was really happy we got our answer back. I remember being pretty happy that we got answers to that pretty quickly.
I just wish the season 3 poster had this kind of level of detail.
Yeah, like I it's so cool. Like this is. I remember I was just really blown away by this poster, because I was like, God damn, Amphibia, like what are you setting up in your second season? Like I was wondering who this big guy in the background was. Like I was like, who is this dude? Then like I was like, oh, is that Marcy? then I saw Yunan and Olivia. I was just like, whoa! Like, what is going on with the second season? Like, it was getting me excited and like, damn. I really do wish season. I mean, maybe they'll do something for 3B, but like, I really just wish that like we got another poster. This level of excitement. You know what I mean? Like, it's really great.
And I think at the time, I'm trying to pull up I think it was a Verity article or a Deadline article where like they announced season 3's like renewal at the same time, and
Oh yeah.
I think they did bring up like Keith David is voicing King Andreas, but then the trailer didn't show like anything from him.
Yeah, pretty much. They kept on like they kept all of the Newtopia just like we only most we ever actually you're
Yeah, it
right,
was everything other than this poster, like everything up until the first like 5 minutes of Marcy at the Gates, where basically that one scene was all like unknown.
Yeah. They really kept up the intrigue of Newtopia that way.
But I'm guessing, is there anything else we need to cover here? I'm just going through the episode again very quickly, like.
Well, we
guess
kind
it
of
was-
talked about Frobo a little. Well, I mean, obviously we talked about him a lot, but we haven't really like. I mean, can we go into detail about Frobo now? I don't know because
No.
like
I think next
No.
week might be a little bit better because we actually get to see like Frobo for the first time.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, this is the beginning of Frobo, which is pretty cool, I guess. I always like I remember like just Frobo always. I mean, at the start, I will say though, Frobo did creep me out when he was first introduced. Just like the fact he was always following that, like we knew nothing, right? We didn't know what his intentions were. We just knew that he was following them slowly, and it was just like the fact that you could always spot him. I mean, no, you couldn't always spot him. But like, yeah, it was just really creepy. Just having this robot slowly follow them, like that's just kind of freaky to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought Frobo would have been like a villain or something. That's the vibe I got. Like there was gonna be some like I don't even know how they would have did it, but like just some antagonistic force. And technically, I'm right, but like also not. You know, the Frobots themselves are. And once we get the cloak bot and true colors and stuff, but like, yeah, I like the mystery they kept for him. I mean, I don't know how they handled that for the rest of the show, but I'll get to that when I can. Because but anyway, I always thought Frobo would have been a villain, but he wasn't. So okay.
Yeah, and we get to see him a little bit more next week, and I think we can wrap up this recording. I guess for final thoughts, I guess Sunsfury, anything you want to, anything we missed, anything you want to add on?
No, I'm feeling pretty good. Oh, these are some good episodes, and it's nice to be talking about season 2, getting a move on with things.
All right, thank you, Sunsfury. Impact, any final thoughts?
I would say like for me, I really love looking back at Handy Ann, especially Handy Ann. I like Fort in the Road too. I think like just in general, like I think season 2's premiere is better than like the other two. Season 1 is pretty simple, pretty like basic bread and butter, kind of lets us know about the characters and stuff. Season 3 like is good, but like I think like Handy Ann kind of finds a really good balance of like being a good transition period from like where we were in Wartwood to finally like reaching like bigger parts of the valley or outside of the valley and stuff. It does a great job of setting up plot points, And just in general, when I watched these 2 episodes, it really told me that, like, okay, we're going crazy this season. There has to be some, like, awesome stuff going on. I'm not saying season 1 didn't, but, like, season 2, like, especially with how interconnected Handy Ann and Fort in the Road are, it told me as I was binge watching it, like, okay, we're getting crazy now. So I really like these episodes quite a lot. I think they're great. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Impact. Nick, any final thoughts?
Just a really good way to kick off the season, like just with like the first episode of Handy Ann, just reminding us of all the exciting plot points we still have to explore of season 2. Then like For the Road, just offering us some really interesting background details to think on, just really changing what we like, just really making us question what we actually know about Amphibia. So just a really good way to start off a season. I don't know. I mean, these are really great episodes.
Thank you, Nick. And yeah, like both these episodes together kind of really they worked so well together. Just with the way I think a lot of New Normal was about like kind of scaling down what happened in True Colors, like trying like just to try and like wind down from that and get into like like the episode it says like a new normal. But I guess like Handy Ann and Fort in the Road didn't need to do that. All they needed to do was just like scale up, which like I think a lot of us get more excited about than kind of like a return to normal, which is natural. But yeah, that just makes Handy Ann and Fort in the Road just like so much more like so much better. Not better than New Normal, just like great in general.
I mean, like, I guess for me, I feel like I'm sort of intact here. I'm sorry, I'm like, I'm a Handy Ann stan. You invited the Handy Ann stan, though, so like, I have to go after the New Normal for a bit. But like, I will say, I do feel like if I had to name a weakness, I guess it's the fact that it sort of feels like it's a 22-minute episode that feels like 2 different 11-minute episodes, and like, I feel like it has the job of like taking us down from True Colors, but then also letting us get to know the Boon Choys, hang out with them, then explore a little bit. Like it has like 2 different things it had to do, and I feel like with Handy Ann, it just had one job. Handy Ann basically just had one job: get us ready for the adventure. And For the Road was like, let's check out the event. Like, you know what I mean? They both have their own single jobs, and like with like the New Normal, like they couldn't go all out with just one idea. They had to like sort of. I feel like they had to balance it with both ideas, and I feel like that's just sort of what puts it underneath Handy Ann for me in a way.
I guess that just goes to show like how well Amphibia does the 11-minute episodes, because they know what to prioritize in each one, like, and they understand like the advantage of that, so they get to like I guess they understand the advantage and they just laser focus on what needs to be done. But then something like the New Normal, it had to like hold all these elements together, because if you just segmented them, it would have felt a little bit off.
I think like with it too, like, because I like New Normal. Like, I don't want to like diss this episode. I think it is really like still a solid episode of Amphibia. I think the problem with kind of New Normal is that like, since it has to scale down, I understand why they did it. Like, because we kind of need to chill out a little bit after True Colors. We need to kind of let Anne do her thing on Earth and stuff, kind of continue her character arc of building yourself up, but kind of in a different way, you know. And I respect New Normal for doing that, but I feel like, I don't know, because like, New Normal had to do like so much in like so little time. It had to set up, it had to deal with the aftermath of True Colors, it had to set up the entire season. You notice like each line in like at the beginning of the episode sets up like each episode in the season pretty much. In season 3, and then it has to deal with Anne's responsibilities, her relationship with her parents. Like, then we got to deal with Andress and whatever. it has to do like so much. It's kind of bloated to a point where like it still has focus. It's not a badly written episode. I still think it's really good, but like it definitely felt like it had like more clumped into it, and so it doesn't feel like as a strong like basis to start the season. And the fact that it has to scale down too, I think makes it like less interesting as a premiere. I think they could have found a better balance with that. But Handy Ann rises it up, gives us more things to be interested in and more things to be excited about without having to do as much. It's a good balance of that element to me. So, yeah.
All right, thank you, Impact. And with that, I think we can pretty much wrap up. Thanks, guys, for coming on. And next week we'll be covering The Ballad of Hoppediah Planter and Ann Hunter. That's a great
Let's
pair.
go.
We gotta like restrain Nick. We gotta like keep him like.
No,
before...
I'm gonna defend Ann Hunter with my life. Like I don't care what anyone says. Like,
and then I have to defend Ballad of Hoppediah Planter.
Yeah.
Perfectly balanced.
It'll be great. Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be really fun.
Better watch out then.
Say goodbye, everyone.
See y'all.
Buddy.
See ya.